and welcome to another episode of the Press Break Podcast. I'm Chelsea, joined by Jamie and Tyler, of course, and we are going to dive into conference tournament talk this week. If you don't know how women's college basketball schedules work, the regular season is done. We're over. It's
At least for the power conferences.
Yeah,
we've got a couple of regular season games, but the bulk of it.
The bulk of it is over, and then we head into conference tournaments, which means that it's not quite yet March Madness. That's coming after, but the conferences will now do their tournaments, and then from there we'll go into March Madness. So March is just wild in general. So let's get into talking about each of the Power Four conferences and just kind of give a little bit of a preview into the tournaments, the seeding. We have the brackets pulled up, and kind of just give our thoughts on what we think about how things kind of played out and go from there. So we're going to start with the Big 12 conference. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like, you know, both of these two, it's their home conference.
It is. So, not anymore. Really, my time of service in the Big 12 has come to an end, but Jamie is holding strong in the Big 12 trenches.
Exactly, yeah. Oklahoma is now in the SEC.
Yeah.
Sometimes the realignment still kind of gets...
it's still weird.
It's weird.
It's still very weird.
Yeah, so Jamie, Big 12, I got the bracket in front of me. Just kind of like give, I guess, like what you think about it and maybe just kind of preview what you think might go down.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am heading there a couple hours after we finish recording. So I am on my way to Kansas City, which, as we've said, not a destination that perhaps jumps out as a great place to visit, but let me tell you, it's fun. The environment for the Big 12 tournament is incredible. Especially if you're Iowa State. Especially if you're Iowa State. Nobody travels quite like Iowa State. The state kind of shuts down. Like, it for years, they had both the men's and women's tournament at the same time, which was crazy. Oh my God, it was so Iowa State, the women won the last iteration of that, and I mean, the environment was awesome. They since have separated them, which was really sad, but it means that the women are playing in a significantly larger, better facilitated area at the T-Mobile Center. And I tell you what, I was so impressed last year with the showing, with the attendance at T-Mobile. I was honestly a bit pessimistic, but the fans showed up in a big way. Local fans, it was great. So I'm so excited. The tournament is intriguing in a lot of ways. You have a lot at stake for some of these teams. You have a Kansas State team that has been in a little bit of a spiral as of late, had Aoka Lee back for a split second before she injured what I have found out was her other foot. No. It wasn't the same one. That's so brutal, my friends. It was the other foot. I heard that she's been like working out, like she had the surgery real quick and has been doing stuff. And so I'm hearing that she's probably going to go through like some warm-ups and stuff to kind of demonstrate to the committee that she is in fact going to be playing to some degree in the NCAA tournament. So that'll be a really big boost when they get to that point. But until then, it's been rough. They've lost 3 of their last 4, including in Ames over the weekend, in Iowa State's best game of the season, bar none. Emily Ryan Senior Night. There was no other option. But they are now probably in an uphill battle, I'll say, to host the NCAA tournament. So getting some crucial wins here would be really big. On the other side of things, you have a really surging Baylor team who kept it super close with TCU, nearly pulled off the last second comeback after looking like they were kind of down and out. And that's still without Dariana Littlepage Buggs, but ultimately fell. TCU gets the 1 seed, Baylor to the 2. And Baylor has been playing so well lately. And so they're one of those teams that now is projected as hosting, for instance, in our Her Hoop Stats bracketology and a couple others that I've seen. In my personal opinion, I would have them as like a 4 seed. I think that the way that they've played as of late has been tremendous. So definitely been really impressed with them. But it's, those are the 2 teams that I think have the most that they're playing for as far as hosting. And then you have a TCU team who has been really solid in the Big 12 this year, but they've started playing their bench more as the season goes on. Still not a super, super bench reliant team. And so when you talk about this potential 3 games in 3 days scenario, it's tough to get that done. And so you definitely are looking at the potential for an upset if they do make it to the championship game. So a lot of kind of interesting storylines at play there. Iowa State, like Tyler was saying, travels extremely well, gets a great crowd down there, has had pretty solid fortune there the past 2 years, has made 2 straight championships. So really hoping that I'll be down there for quite a while.
Extended period.
But it's fun. It's a really, really fun tournament. I'm excited that with it moving to the same week as the other power conference tournaments, you get the back-to-back-to-back of the ACC, SEC, Big 12 on ESPN. And then the Big 10 just kind of like throws a wrench into that with their own deal.
Yeah.
But to be able to watch all 3 of those championship games back-to-back-to-back is
awesome.
Gonna
be what a day that is gonna be. I can't wait. I know looking at this bracket, Iowa State is kind of starting to look like Iowa State. It's you know, Jamie,
we've seen this story before. It's what they did last year.
We have, and I'm like, hold on, because I mean, obviously the preseason expectations were what they were, and the season has not gone to that plan. But I don't want to see Iowa State right now. I don't want to go see Audi Crooks in postseason basketball. Ask me how I know. Last year, I didn't want to see Audi Crooks in postseason basketball. Okay,
they've had some pretty solid revenge games down in Kansas City, and shoot, you got Audie's Slam U cover out there into the world now.
Yeah,
she was in that documentary too.
Yes, I don't want to see Iowa State right now. I take the team that I'm immediately like that jumps out at me. I cannot wait to see what happens to Oklahoma State in postseason basketball.
Yes,
because I don't to this day. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm not gonna sit here and fake it. I don't know what to do with Oklahoma State because sometimes they just decide to not miss. And like, what do you do? Like, I don't know the counter to that when they just don't miss. And so, like, if they get on a streak either in the Big 12 tournament or in the NCAA tournament where they are just on this hot streak, and I think honestly the postseason play can kind of go either way for them in the sense of like the close games and how that could be beneficial. Like, it could be beneficial because if you're just on a hot streak and you're going and you just get to keep that rolling as opposed to being on break, you know, for a week or whatever, or it could tire you out quick, you know, and if you're, you know, like how do you handle that? So like, I think possibly the most volatile team in these postseason play, honestly, when it comes to the boom or bust, might be Oklahoma State across the entire nation. And I'm very interested in seeing, good or bad, how it goes for Oklahoma State.
Yeah. One other point I'll make before we move on, I don't want to take all of our time on my Big 12, but if you talk about like just weird matchups to watch, round 1, number 9 Colorado, who has been dealing with a lot of injuries, versus a Houston team that had 1 win in conference play. It was over Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Played a good chunk of conference play with only 6 players. Played 1 game with only 5.
Yeah, it's
they busted. They worked so hard. I became such a fan of them because they worked so hard. They would have been able to forfeit the game if they chose not to. They've been playing. I think that their coach Hewley, seems like an incredible dude. His like all of his quotes are like exactly what you want from a program leader. So the season has not gone the way they wanted to. They have had a lot of really, really tough injuries, but this is a situation that we have seen play out in the Big 12 before, where a couple years ago, the last year that Reagan Peebly was at TCU, they didn't win a conference game, came in, won their first round game, almost won their second round game after not getting a conference win all year. So I would not be surprised in the slightest for Houston to go in there with some energy, especially they're up to 7 people in their rotation now. They got someone who had a broken nose back. So they're feeling great. I would not be surprised to see them go in there and get a win at all. But that's just where you get into those kind of fun March matchups. That's definitely one that doesn't have a whole lot of postseason consequence, but if you want to watch a team play really hard, that's a fun one.
Yeah. All right, let's flip to the ACC now. Another interesting one because you got Notre Dame, you got Duke, Stanford's in there, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, NC State. So there's a lot of interesting things going on in the ACC, and it's also had the last week and a half of conference for them was definitely like it was a roller coaster. So, yeah, I think for me, when I look at the ACC, I'm immediately going to Duke just because, again, I'm
Well, I wonder why.
wonder why. Oh my goodness, who's playing for Duke?
Mm,
Toby Fournier. And she had a career night the other night, scored 28 points, has
fantastic.
been like absolutely crushing it. And also just like I want her to be playing more minutes. Like I need
Hmm.
her to start. So like hopefully that's like a postseason energy that
It's not gonna happen, Chelsea. I'm right here with you, and I completely agree, but it's not gonna happen.
I
There's
know.
no way. Like, take the training wheels off, man. Let's hoop. Let's hoop
Let's hoop,
with
yeah,
Toby
'cause
because
she can do it.
she's a
She can do
star.
it. She had more minutes, like, whoo. But yeah, that's and they are one they have the 3rd seed in the ACC, and they've kind of been up and down in the top 25 all season, just like
Mm,
some days they look amazing, some days they lose against teams that they probably could have won to. So, I'm very interested to see how their postseason goes. And then obviously, of course, Notre Dame is the one we're all looking at, and NC State, who ended up getting the number 1 seed in the conference. So,
mhm.
that game between Notre Dame and NC State, we talked about it last week, was absolutely wild. So I'm excited to potentially get round 2 of that. But then again, you have Duke, you have Louisville in there, North Carolina, Florida State. So the ACC has the potential to give us some good performances.
Mhm.
Let's start with Tyler. What do you think?
Am I crazy for thinking I'd rather have the 2 seed here?
No. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I thought the same
Like,
thing.
I'm looking at this bracket right now, and I'm like, NC State might be suffering from success. Like, you played the winner of Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech,
That's
and
rough.
then you have Florida State on the other side, you have North Carolina on the other side. Like, frankly,
This is in fact not the only conference I think that about.
I
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm with you. And so like I'm looking at this for Notre Dame, and like with all due respect to the teams, that they're like California is a good team. Duke, and presumably Louisville, like the
Yeah.
winner of that, if it's chalk, like both good teams. I don't think. I mean, Florida State just struggled. Well, Tanaya Latson really struggled against Duke, but like I don't want to play Tanaya Latson in Florida State.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
Nope.
Like North Carolina just got upset, but they did so with injuries. Like I don't really want to play North Carolina right now. So like I'm looking at this bracket, and like certainly Notre Dame would rather be the number 1 seed, and they're not going to tell you anything otherwise. But on the lowest of keys, I'd be feeling pretty good if I was Notre Dame. But I am excited to see like the team I'm kind of watching for in this is Louisville.
Mhm.
They're a team that is incredibly like they have some older players and then there's some super young players, and they're all just kind of mixed in together, honestly. And I remember talking about it earlier in the season, like when we saw like the Kentucky game and stuff like that. And I'm like, look, I don't know what Louisville's gonna do this year, but I love their young players. Like their freshmen are legit. And I kind of put it out there into the women's basketball universe where I'm like, look, man, by the time that we get to postseason play, and essentially these these freshmen have a year under their belt, like they have a full season, they're acclimated at this point. Louisville is not a team that I want to see. Jeff Walls is a mastermind when it comes to this stuff and matchups. Like, so I'll be very interested in seeing kind of similar to Oklahoma State in that way of like the boom or bust with Louisville, both in the ACC and NCAA tournament. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm just looking at this bracket, and if I'm Notre Dame, um, I, again, they're never going to tell you on purpose that no, they didn't get the number 2 seed on purpose. But now that we're here, I'd be feeling pretty good about it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Jamie, what do you think about the ACC?
Well, first I'm gonna hit on my birthday gift to Chelsea, which is a Canada shout out. This
Ooh.
past week,
Oh,
huge game
no.
from Latasha Lattimore,
Mhm.
Toronto. Okay, look, Latasha Lattimore started her career at Texas, didn't play a ton her freshman year, but about 10 minutes a game. Every time she was on the court, I sat there and I said, she is gonna be a star. Just had all of the little things. 6'4", has the length, has the athleticism, just would make these plays on the offensive and defensive end of the court that like blew my mind. I said, okay, there's you see she's still a freshman, but ooh, is the potential there? Transfers, goes to Miami, tears her ACL, has to go through all that. This year at Virginia has been balling out and decided to cap off the regular season by absolutely going off to help Virginia upset as Tyler said, hampered by injury, North Carolina team that, even with injuries, has been rolling. And
so,
10 for 14 from the floor, including 2 for 4 from 3. 6 rebounds.
Virginia's
3
sneaky,
blocks.
man.
23 points for Lattimore. So, and then and that's alongside, that's a team that also has, Kamora Johnson, who's
quite possibly the most underrated player in the country. Like she's up there for me with that. Like, I'm with you. Like, I know it's a hot take to go like, oh, from the first round teams, the highest seed is the best chance to be a Cinderella team. But like, no, like Virginia's legit. Like again, they're another one of those teams where it's like, it might not be this year, but like, I love everything that Coach Mox is building at Virginia. And if there was a Cinderella team in the ACC, immediately I'm thinking Virginia, just because they have some talent.
You have a first round game where you're favored, then you go up against a Cal team in the second round that has been very solid but is susceptible. So you definitely could win at least a couple games and be building on that for next year. So had to give my little shout out to Virginia there. But the tournament as a whole, I think that one of the most fascinating potential matchups is we could be looking at a Florida State North Carolina grudge match in the quarterfinals, which would be thrilling. Obviously, you're hoping that North Carolina is getting back to full strength. I haven't really seen any reports on the status of Usby or Kelly, but we all can only cross our fingers and hope, because you want to see teams at their full strength in March. Obviously, that's the most entertaining. So that'll be really, really interesting. And then, as you kind of highlighted, Tyler, you got Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech that have a play-in for the 1 seed. Like, hello, those are 2 teams that have really been, they've had some very hot streaks over the course of the season. They faltered a little bit late, but those are teams that have shown that they're very, very capable of competing with top teams. So NC State, I think they're a team that has flown very under the radar for what they've done, which is just sort of the way that they operate, I think. And so they have the potential to really prove themselves, at least to themselves. Maybe they're not going to get a whole lot of credit nationally for beating whoever comes out of the 8-9 game, but the people who know that that's not going to be a gimme, and then they're going to have a really tough road to the championship. So I think that as far as like top to bottom competitiveness, the ACC may have some of the most interesting matchups that the next 2 we're going to talk about definitely have, I think, a more top to bottom competitive tournament. But I think that these are going to be some of the more sneaky competitive games where people don't really realize what's going to be going on there. But there's going to be a game or 2 where everyone just goes, wait, hold up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the top 4 seeds don't all make it out of the quarterfinals. And that's not something that I think you could say for a lot of tournaments.
Yeah, there'll be some channel flippers, like where people are like going in the fourth quarter and you're like, oh, what's like, what do you mean NC State's down 6? What are you talking about? Like, I could see that absolutely happening.
I'm going to have split screen on my tablet.
Oh, yeah, you don't got to worry about me. I'm gonna have so many screens.
The giant phone, like,
I'm gonna look like I'm in the Batcave. Like, I'm gonna have so many screens. I'm
gonna be like the Matrix.
I'm gonna be so overstimulated. I can't wait.
Okay, Tyler, it's your turn. Pick a Canadian shout out for my birthday.
Birthday? Is it your birthday?
It was 2 days ago.
I could give a second one.
How about Serena Williams?
There you go.
There you go.
Come on now.
Let's go.
I didn't know it was your birthday. Happy late birthday, Chelsea. Oh my goodness. We should have opened the pod by singing happy birthday. Oh my goodness.
We want people to listen.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you're insinuating that people wouldn't stay more tapped in to hear me singing, but but shout out to Serena. Shout out to Canada. Shout out to making sure Drake is not involved with the team.
Exactly.
Lord, this is. I've been waiting for Serena to get involved with the W. We've seen her like on with the NWSL and stuff. Like, it kind of just felt like a matter of time. Like, just with the history of investment in teams. Shout out to Serena. Shout out to Canada. There you go.
If you didn't know, Serena Williams was just announced as a part owner of the Toronto Tempo, so that's why
so
she's shutting out.
So fire.
Thank you very much for that.
And it didn't get leaked.
Yeah, and it didn't get leaked.
And it didn't get leaked. The Toronto account tweeting about that, I thought was very funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Shout out to y'all for the self-awareness.
I'll let the admin know that you said that. And then
the 30-second part B, Delaney Gibb, freshman of the year in the Big 12 from Canada, and said, I was listening to a broadcast, says that she looks up to Bridget Carlton.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada, baby.
Mm.
Great. I love that we just had like a middle of the podcast Canada.
And now we get to talk
Just
about
a
the
quick
Big Ten.
intermission.
Now we're going to talk about the Big Ten, which means we're going to talk more about Canada. Let's go. All right. So let's talk about the Big Ten tournament, which, like we said, was a little bit wonkier in terms of their, but still, we're going to have screens going. This one, again, I've been, I guess, maybe the most tapped into the Big Ten this season. Mostly because, again, there's a higher concentration of Canadian content, but also it's just kind of like accessible to watch. But then you also have USC, you have UCLA, which like that game the other day. If you want to,
I have my USC shirt on today, so people understand. This is my official apology to the women of Troy.
Yes,
I doubted you twice.
Yeah,
I won't be doubting you anymore.
You fooled me once.
I apologize.
Twice.
I apologize.
Just to so that game happened Saturday night. I was out at Medieval Times for my birthday. My birthday was Sunday, so I opened up my birthday by making a coffee and then just rewatching the game, and I was like, wow, what a great way to spend a day. This is fantastic. It was such a good game, and we won't spend too much time on it because if you're watching this, you've probably watched it. If not, go watch it. It's on YouTube. Yeah. But USC gets the number 1 seed. But this conference, I feel like, again, might be one of those ones that we were talking about earlier that, like, maybe you want the 2 seed. I don't know. But it's just, you have Michigan State. That's a team that could absolutely come and beat a higher seed. You have, I mean, I'm always going to hype up Michigan because, again, Sila, let's go. Yeah, and even with Sila, like, I did a podcast with her last night, not to, like, hey, Sila. But he was saying, like, we were talking about the Olympics, and, like, I feel, she was like, yeah, like, I'm used to higher paced games. I'm used to these moments and stuff like that. And that's, I think, is something that's really going to impact, like, her performance. So I could see her going off. And then you also have, like, Oregon. That's another team that we've talked about a lot on this podcast that could absolutely come. Iowa's down. They're playing a first round game, and then they could, they beat USC. Like, one of USC's 2 losses was against Iowa. And then you have, there's definitely a few teams in here. So it's going to be interesting. And then, of course, I mean, you have the top teams that are just going to. So, and then we also have the potential for a third USC UCLA game. Which
need that.
I need it. I need it. I need it now. I need it in the NCAA tournament. I need it. Yeah.
No, I'm completely with you. I'm telling you, I tweeted this out during the game, but the way Juju Watkins just absolutely destroys UCLA inspires me to be a better hater.
Yeah.
I need to be better. I need to hate harder at times, against my biggest ops. So I respect that so much from Juju. But looking at this tournament, the fact that Iowa, and like it's earned, right? They go on that bad skid during Big Ten play towards the beginning of it, where I think it was 5 games lost in a row. Like, this is the record that they earned, and this is the seeding that they earned. But Iowa, to me, is just so much better than an 11 seed in a conference tournament. Like, they beat USC, they held close with UCLA. The foundation of this Iowa team is just so different from the Caitlin Clark era when it's on defense, right? And whenever they have the scoring, like, I feel confident in them taking on any, on any team, when you're founded on that defense. So I immediately, like, my eye is caught by Iowa. The other team for me, who's another team I've spoken on, is Oregon. Whenever Oregon is making threes, like, they make life hell for you with their defense. And, like, it's pretty much been the difference maker. Like, if you go look at their losses, they shoot bad from 3 in every single loss. And so, like, if they are just, they don't even have to be, like, on a heater or anything. I'm not even talking about, like, oh, they're shooting 60% from 3 randomly. I'm just talking, like, 30%, 40%, like, in that range. If you're hitting that, Oregon is a team that absolutely can bust this bracket open. And so I'm very interested to see what they do. And UCLA, like, what are you prepared to do about it? Like, that's, like, you have some big-time matchups. And presumably, if all goes chalk and the presumptuous thing is that you are going to be able to play USC again, you have not shown. I mean, frankly, all the things that are the talk about UCLA, like, they haven't played anybody, and like they were kind of coasting off the South Carolina win early in the season. and then the Big Ten wasn't that good. I still don't agree with that sentiment. But ultimately, you haven't done much to prove otherwise in your massive games on the biggest stage. So with this tournament, UCLA, you're talking at this point where if you lose early, you probably lose your number 1 seed, depending on how other stuff shakes out at this point. So I'm certainly watching UCLA closely just to see the bounce back and see how they contend and go against these other top-ranked teams. Because Ohio State, to me, has underperformed, generally speaking, but is a very good team. Right. Yeah. Maryland has been struggling with injuries, but is a very good team. And USC obviously speaks for itself. And we've been high on the rest of the Big Ten as well. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on UCLA to see what level of momentum they can bring to the NCAA tournament based on their performance here.
Yeah, it's interesting too because recency bias plays such like a integral thing to like the tournament seeding. Mm-hmm. And like if anybody's new to college basketball this season, like the NCAA tournament is paid, like the bracket is chosen by a committee. So they like look at everything and they do all of their research, and then they are the ones who pick the seeds and sort everybody into the regions. And so it's not necessarily about numbers. It's like how you're
It's a whole like algorithm of things. It's eye test. It's statistics. Like there's so many.
There's like a published list of the metrics they use, and it's also interesting because, for instance, last year they weighted recency more than I've ever seen in the time I can remember, which I prefer. I think that the way that you finish a season, there's something to be said for your entire resume, but if you're talking about development over the course of a season, if you're talking about creating compelling matchups, you do need to weight how they finish. And so that's something I'm very interested to see how that works out this year. When you're talking about just a product standpoint, last year was a terrific NCAA tournament. And so I don't know that you'd be going away from that necessarily anyway, but that especially weighs really heavily on the way that these tournaments play out. And so when you talk about a Big Ten that has been maybe not as talked about nationally from top to bottom, maybe at the very top, yes, but not as you get down the ways. But then when you look at bracketology, when you look at our Her Hoop Stats bracketology that was just updated yesterday, and they have 13 Big Ten teams in there, which is a pretty common sentiment among bracketologists, there's a lot of attention to be paid here because that's 13 teams in a conference tournament that has 15 teams in it. So you're going to have at least one potential tournament team knocked out on day one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have so much at stake with these games, and a lot of it depends on, how other conferences shake out, especially the non-power conferences in a year where you're seeing some teams that have really surged. You have the potential for a 3-bid Ivy. And so that all goes into it. But that's to say that every single game of the Big Ten tournament has massive implications. There's also been so much parity in that league over the course of the season. So it's going to be very fascinating. I will say I kept thinking that the winner of Minnesota-Washington faced Oregon because I hate the way that the Big Ten laid out their official bracket. That's not the case.
I just officially learned that the winner of Minnesota-Washington don't play Oregon. That just really hurt my brain, actually.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. Yeah. They do play Michigan, so that'll be a great game too. But no, Indiana-Oregon, huge matchup.
That Oregon-USC matchup, if we end up getting that
early... Gimme.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Because no, never mind. I am a believer in USC. I'm not saying anything. I have my shirt on.
It's the apology.
Look, I can't. I have to go at least one episode. Come on now. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Forget I said anything. Unless Oregon wins, then I said something.
Oregon's been wild. Oregon.
I don't know what to do with Oregon.
When you have a big inside like Philly Shea, and then you've got the games that Deja Kelly turns it on, the depth they have coming in off the bench, the amount of people they have that can really turn it on. You want to talk about players that I loved at Texas. Ooh, Amina Muhammad.
Muhammad.
My lord. I love her. But Yeah, Oregon, oh man, that is appointment viewing for me as long as they are in the tournament.
Yeah.
I will be tapped in, but yes, this Big Ten tournament is going to be wild. Ohio State has shown a lot of susceptibility. I think that they have a lot to prove in this tournament. It is, oh man, yeah,
And then
there's
if
a
it
lot
all
going
just
on there.
goes the way expected, then we get to end it with a USC-UCLA rematch, which like incredible. March 9th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, like book, just put it now, put it in your calendars.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our last Power 4 conference, which is the SEC. And I know that Tyler wants to talk about the coin flip because all this man spent all the tweeting about.
Dude, I was at the OU game, and I'm not gonna lie. Look, I was watching. It was a great game between OU and Alabama, like two of the hottest teams in the conference. That was a great game. I'm so sorry. I was so tapped into the coin flip. We had the coin flip countdown, like, and it's just Greg Sankey just like turning the coin slowly. And I'm like, what is the college sports are so stupid. Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. I love it. It is so stupid that the SEC got to point C on their criteria, and they're like, I don't know, man, I can't think of anything else. And then they built a coin. Like, what?
They made their own coin.
Like, it is so incredibly. I need to know. When
are they selling a commemorative one?
No,
because you know that's
I
dropping, right?
No, I tweeted at the SEC 3 times asking, how do I get the coin for my background? This piece of history cannot go to waste. And I feel like nobody's been more tapped in on this coin toss than I have. And so I need the Texas South Carolina coin for my background because this can't just go in a box somewhere. This is the stupidest piece of women's basketball history ever, and I need it.
Dawn's gonna put it on a chain.
Yeah.
Oh! I can see that. That'd go hard.
That would go hard.
I'll allow it. If that's where it goes, I'll allow it.
If you miss the coin flip, if you're not tapped into Tyler's like Twitter account,
because it was a live.
Yeah. You've been hearing about this freaking coin. But South Carolina.
Tell me that if South Carolina and Texas don't meet in the championship, they are not gonna just have a little
coin
setting on a chain to give it to whoever wins.
Something.
If they don't already, you have time. You can have this. Just credit me.
I can sell.
Make it happen.
Yes.
Because then Tyler's going to show up here in a few weeks with a big coin. But they need
like Flavor Flav.
If they make it commemorative, I need them to blow it up though, because I need like a nice big, just like coin, and then you can flip it with whatever.
I want to specifically do what the commissioner was doing, where he was just like on the screen, just holding it up, and like how many times did he flip that coin practicing? I need when I tell you I need every detail, Like It's just so stupid, and
Tyler's book about the coin flip releasing later.
No, literally, like this is what I want to do. But
man, okay, well let's talk about the actual.
Tournament.
Let's do it. That wasn't even the tournament. That was just the coin flip to decide the tournament. So, and honestly, I will say the last thing about the coin flip is that if I were Texas, I would be kind of salty about the coin flip because the head-to-head record was the same. I'm pretty sure Texas won like the normal record if that was the next criteria. Mm-hmm. And then you think like if another criteria would have been like total points or whatever, but anyway, I guess what's done is done. But
I think they'll be okay with the results though.
Yeah. Again, we've been talking about teams that probably would have liked the 2 seed more, and I think Texas is probably happy regardless. Yeah. But Texas gets a 2 seed, South Carolina gets the 1 seed. And then you have this SEC, which I feel like we've been talking about all year. The SEC is stacked. It's finally time for us to talk about our Vanderbilt moment of the week. At this point, they got to send us Vanderbilt merch because like we've been supporting. We got to get us Vanderbilt t-shirts. But I guess Tyler, since we're already talking about the coin, let's dive into the SEC.
First off, not to start off on a negative, but Tennessee. What's going on, big dog? What's going on? Dropping to the 9 seed Vanderbilt, taking that. Tell you right now, Tennessee versus Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. I'll be there no matter what. I won't be missing that if that is what we end up getting. Tennessee playing a Texas A&M team. They should be 8-9, and we should get that game. So I'll be very excited for that. Yeah. I'm gonna do a little propaganda. I feel like I haven't been able to do this season. let's talk about Oklahoma, okay? Let's talk about Oklahoma.
Let's talk about Oklahoma because Reagan Beer's back, baby.
Let's talk about Reagan Beers playing the best basketball that she has played all season. They're on a 7 or 8 game win streak right now since they lost to Kentucky, which they have a chance to go and get back in the SEC tournament if they beat the winner of Arkansas and Georgia. And Kentucky played South Carolina well. If Reagan Beers is playing the way that she has been playing, she played phenomenal against Alabama. The shooting speaks for itself that surrounds her, and it's kind of just been the idea of getting both going at the same time. Peyton Verhulst is a ridiculous scorer. Some of the like the shots that she hits, whether you're talking about the deep threes or the mid range like fadeaway shots, like you name it, there's not a bucket on the floor that she can't get.
Talking about 3 level, like hello.
All the way. I still feel like we haven't even seen the best of Skylar Vann this season, like by any means. And the idea of if they can get her rolling alongside Reagan Beers, Sahara Williams has been fantastic this year. The development of her into more of a 3-and-D style of player, and like just seeing the progress from last year to this year is something that over the summer I know was a big thing for her, was getting her body just in shape to play at the pace of Oklahoma. And also just being a more of a threat on the offensive side of the ball. We saw that against Alabama. Again, Oklahoma is playing their best basketball right now, and they are a team that can get in their own way. I mean, like just with the pace, whether it be turnovers or missing threes. But goodness gracious, whenever Reagan Beers is playing well, I trust the foundation of that, because that's just not something that Oklahoma has had since Jenny Baranczyk has taken over at OU, is a dominant big inside that you can just rely on in that way. And so if Reagan Beers is playing like Reagan Beers, I love the chances of them beating Kentucky in this. I'm not saying anything about South Carolina game, because no, I'm not going that far. But
you got burned once this season.
I'm not going that far. But Oklahoma is playing their best basketball at the best time. And even if it doesn't come to fruition here in the SEC tournament, like going super, super deep into it, I think just the momentum leading into the NCAA tournament is going to serve them fantastically.
There has long been a sentiment among a bunch of men's coaches that I've heard of that going deep into your conference tournament may not always be ideal if you have set yourself up well for the NCAA tournament. And with the lack of parity historically in the women's side, that hasn't really been an issue because you've had so many kind of giddy games early in the tournament. But with how difficult a lot of these games are going to be, you absolutely have teams that may lose their first, second game, but end up with more time to recover, more time to get healthy, more time to prep for the NCAA tournament, and be perfectly fine, as opposed to ending up fatigued. And that's especially as you look at like an LSU where they're shutting down Flage.
Yes, major.
They lose to finish the season. But, okay, so Flage hasn't been healthy. If you're telling me that she's going to be coming back healthy, then that absolutely pays off in a big way. So especially as you talk about, okay, I'm not going to predict anything with the potential matchup with like South Carolina, whatever, but that doesn't have as much bearing on a team's full postseason success.
Yeah, the Flage thing is definitely a big factor here in this tournament. Obviously, it's like proving, like, not that there's a level of importance, but like
no. But Kim Mulkey said we play for NCAA championships at LSU. Exactly. Like that is like that was a sentiment, and like
so like I get it.
You do.
And, like you want to make sure she's healthy for that. You want to make sure, because March Madness is wild. You're playing like every other day. If you're going into that injured, no.
Yeah.
So I agree with the decision to sit Flage for the SEC tournament. I'm not sure if that gives LSU much of a chance against like a Texas or a South Carolina.
Well, I mean, you could be looking at a rematch with Alabama, who they already just lost.
Yeah, they just lost. Exactly. But I'll tell you right now, though, one thing I'm looking out for in this, I'm ready to see Anissa Morrow pissed off. Because she should have been SEC Player of the Year. No disrespect to Madison Booker. She's ridiculous and is so good. But to me, Anissa Morrow should have won that award. And I'm looking, especially if Flage is out, like obviously Michaela Williams and like a Kaylin Gilbert is a player that'll have to pick up and replace that. But I can't wait to see, like, I want to see like a different, like a little chip from Anissa Morrow. And let me tell you right now, you got a chance to go beat the team that just beat you in Alabama. Obviously, Ole Miss also came after that, but Alabama, and then you go and play Texas or Ole Miss, like in the hypothetical that they win that. Two teams that you have also lost to. I'm not saying that it's gonna happen, but I would be very invested in the Anissa Moore revenge tour for the SEC tournament, and she's certainly capable of pushing a team to a win in that manner.
Yeah. What city is this tournament in?
This is in Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's the home.
Couldn't point to a map on that one. But.
It's the home court. It's like the softball, like where they talk about Oklahoma City and OU playing there. It's the home court that South Carolina, I mean, it's in their state. It's.
My American geography is getting better, but now I'm less motivated to learn because. But anyway,
understandable.
Yeah, Canada. Anyway, so yeah, that's the SEC. Jamie, what are your thoughts on just kind of? I know we've touched on a lot when it comes to the SEC, but like, so many of these teams could come be like sleeper teams. Like, what's your vibe on like who could kind of rise up in this one?
I mean, Tennessee. You talk about teams that have a lot to prove. Rough end of the season. You dropped to a 9 seed, and you were. I mean, basically just yesterday ranked 11th in the country. That bites a little bit. You've got a lot to prove there. Some potential injury issues for Tennessee as well. Not entirely sure how that's all shaken out, but yeah, you've got some tough matchups for sure with the opportunity to prove something. On Tyler's Oklahoma agenda. Hey, let's throw my own wrench in there to further my own agendas, which is Sahara Williams, notably of the state of Iowa.
There you go. Nothing but pure hoopers.
We're on our Homer agenda today.
I posted this on both Twitter and Blue Sky.
Oh, yeah.
3 out of the top 10 scorers in NCAA D1 regular season basketball from the state of Iowa.
No.
Okay.
Iowa is Audie the women's basketball state.
Iowa State. Grace Larkins at South Dakota. And then you got Katie Dinnebier at Drake. Put some respect on the state of Iowa. Like the production per capita is so absurd. That's why people talk about, oh wow, it's so crazy. You have this small town Iowa kid doing what she did. Talk about Caitlin Clark. That is so Iowa. Not surprising to me to have someone pop off like that from the state of Iowa.
Iowa is like the hub of women. Like literally every college team, like nobody wants to see the high school. I mean, like it's actually like the per capita aspect is what is the craziest. Like how
the state tournament is going on a half hour from my house right now. Any team that is serious has a coach there now. Okay, so let me just put that out.
I love it. We get all these agendas off today.
Random Iowa thing right now is that I was texting Jamie about this a few weeks ago. I went to a thrift store here in downtown Toronto a few weeks ago, and this place, every other sweater I looked at was an Iowa sweater. I was like, what? Like, did this place go and like rob the state of Iowa? Iowa. I was
she was sending me Iowa State gear. I'm like, okay, there's a thing that a slogan Iowa State uses that's cyclones everywhere. I got a text from Mark Schindler when he was going on vacation. He's like, hey, I didn't snag a picture, but I just saw Cyclones gear at the Punta Cana airport. I'm like, yep.
Heck yeah.
And it's in Canada too. I like sent her a picture. I was like, this is wild. Like, there's so much Iowa gear in this random Toronto thrift store. There's no Michigan stuff. I was like, I want a Michigan sweater. Anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, aside from my own agenda, hey, if I'll do anything, I'll shoehorn in some relation to my own agendas. But no, I think that it's going to be a really interesting tournament. I think that again, you talk about the potential for like grudge matches, for rematches, potential Bama LSU, tremendous. Potential Oklahoma Kentucky, I would absolutely love that. I mean, Ole Miss is out there. I
don't know what to do with them.
They're rolling at times, rolling over at others. I don't know. I also don't know what to do with them. They're kind of in my like Oklahoma State box of I don't really understand you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see what happens. Utah's in there. I thought Utah was going to end the season on a tear. They did not, in fact, do that. But they're old and they're experienced, and so they absolutely have the potential to make some things shake. So, I don't know. There's definitely some interesting stuff going on in the SEC tournament. You've got Florida Auburn in the first round, both of whom have had flashes of looking really, really good at times, have not fully put it together. Auburn has probably had a little bit higher highs than Florida, even for being a lower seed. But man, it's
gonna be
it's a crazy one. It's a crazy one. And also the big thing with all these tournaments is you also hope that teams just stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because playing back-to-back games can get really strenuous, can get really tough. And so these teams that have shorter benches, that already have injury issues, that's where you say, okay, like LSU, you totally understand why you're shutting a player down because you just can't afford to exacerbate anything. So that's the other big thing, is you just hope that everyone comes out of it as healthy as they came in at the very least. But man, there's a lot going on there.
It's gonna be so fun. I think
good week.
Yeah, I think if just to throw it in I think if I was to pick a Cinderella, I'm probably going Bama. I think like
they've been rolling with Sarah Ashley Barker healthy again.
Yes, with that, Zay Green was phenomenal against Oklahoma. She's so good and has been one of the most underrated players throughout her entire career. Like, it's been kind of a weird, with multiple stops and everything, but Zay Green is so good. And I like their path. Like, again, you just beat LSU, and now they're without Flau'jae. Texas is obviously very good, but like their wins haven't been like incredibly convincing. Like in kind of the back stretch of this after their stretch of South Carolina, Kentucky, LSU, they haven't been like the most convincing wins. And if you get a pop-off game from one of your stars from Bama, like if I was to pick someone from the second round of teams, the second round of seeding that would make it to the SEC championship game as like a Cinderella, I'm definitely looking at Alabama with their path. And obviously, even though coming off the loss to Oklahoma, they've still been on a heater. They've been very good over the course of this SEC season. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, conference tournaments start tomorrow. So if you work from home, let's go.
Oh, I'll be working all right. I'll be
from home. Yeah, I think the games start at like 11 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Just go. So like turn on your TV at any time of the day. You're gonna be watching some hoops. And then like these all end on Sunday. So by the time we come next week, we're going to talk about the next round of conference tournaments, maybe, who knows, and then get right into March Madness. Like, it's the best month of the year.
You also have a bunch of resources at your disposal, including from Her Hoop Stats. We've got, as I mentioned, updated bracketology, but you also have several viewing guides from a couple of different authors that we have over on Her Hoop Stats. So if you even just go to the main page, they've got the newsletter, you've got an ACC tournament preview, you've got Tulin's Treasures there's two different versions of that, one with the SEC and Big 12 viewers guide, and then one with the Big 10 and ACC tournament viewers guide. So if you're sitting there, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much. How do I stay on top of it? You're not alone. The technology is there. The information is there. We're breaking it down for you. So go check out our Her Hoop Stats writers, and they have your back.
And also, if you missed out on the coin flip, go to Tyler's Twitter.
The best highlight of the weekend. You could watch I was too excited for that, but you know what?
Oh man. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I know there's a lot going on right now, so we appreciate you coming in and tuning in and talking conference tournaments with us. We will see you next week. Like Jamie said, make sure to check out all of the great stuff going on Her Hoop Stats. I know we will, and our teammates over there are just absolutely crushing it. And make sure to check out the three of us on socials, because all we do is yap online about these tournaments. We'll be live tweeting. So check that out as well. And we will be back next week to talk more postseason NCAA basketball and whatever else happens in women's basketball throughout the week. So from the Press Break crew, we'll see you next time.